to sit with us. That's never happened before.
You've seen her as the sister of God on Supernatural, Lisa on the Castlevania animated series. Most recently, she voiced Puck on the Pac-Man episode of Secret Level on Amazon Prime Video. But she is best known to this audience for her role on the Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Swallow.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
So thank you for joining us in the Marauder. This is our ship. And it's a little full right now, but that's okay. We'll get cozy. And we want to say a special thank you for helping us join this special project that we have going on, LA Strikes Back. And we heard that your home came close to the fires.
Yes, I live in Topanga.
Okay.
Closer to the valley side, which is good. Like we're north of the town. And I was actually on the East Coast when the fires broke out because I've been helping my mom move out of my childhood home, which is not emotional or anything. So, I was already like going through all these feelings. And then the fires started and it was just so fast and unbelievable where it was moving. And Topanga, for people who don't know, is basically all like canyons and trees, and it's a tinderbox. And so the fire started moving up from the coast, and there was about 48 hours, I would say, where my husband and I were like, oh, we're probably going to lose our house. Like we really thought that would happen because it was just going so fast. And I cannot tell you how absolutely deliriously grateful I am, but also I'm so fascinated now that I have learned about what was involved in holding that line to keep the fire from spreading further into Topanga Canyon. The crews there were so many places where they just didn't have time to respond, and they did have time where we live to fortify that line. And we were evacuated for about 10 days, I think. And part of that, my understanding, is because there were so many personnel here waiting in case, and because even when they had held that line of the fire, the winds were so crazy that there was the risk of embers blowing anywhere, and they were ready to deal with that if that happened. And I'm so unbelievably grateful. I have friends who live closer to the ocean whose homes are gone, and know people in Altadena and in the Palisades, and it's really it is just an unimaginable thing that has happened. So I'm so grateful to all the efforts that are being made to help people. And I think this is such a wonderfully, particularly inspiring thing, because it's not just like, hey, give some money to this thing. You're really making use of people's incredible artistry, and the artistry of the fandom is something also that has just blown me away in the time that I've been involved with Star Wars and doing conventions. And as I said to you guys when I reached out, I have a number of helmets that have been made for me with the instructions to use them for good. And this definitely seems like a for good thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have one follow-up question.
Yeah.
Have you had time since being back in the house to go on a morning jog yet? Because I'm very concerned for the boxer briefs.
The boxer briefs are still there.
Oh my God.
I almost posted about it, and I was like, maybe it's a little irreverent. But we had a couple of days of rain, and so the air was clean because it's been, really smoky, and it's not good to do stuff outside. And I went on a morning run the morning after that, and they are still there.
That is the resilience of Los Angeles.
I feel like it sort of is. Yeah. I truly, I got to the top of the hill and I can look out over all of Topanga, and I started crying. I was just so grateful and so happy. And there was something about the boxer briefs being there that felt like, yeah, we're going to make it.
Yep.
Who wants to go clean those up, right?
Lots of people have offered.
So Emily, you as you mentioned, so the project, and this is just kind of we talk about it every week, right? Like each year, um, our podcast historically has done some at the holiday time, does a charity drive. And we've historically called it like the Chrome Tono, like the Cam Tono from the show. We call it the
Yes.
Chrome Tono. It's old kind of inside joke. But and it started out as like, oh, we're gonna fill this Chrome Tono with stuff, and that's gonna be raffled off. And it always ends up being way more stuff that it's symbolic. Can't put everything that we get in it. And I mean we raised like what year one we raised like what $16,000, and then it's like up into the $20,000 range. And then our friend Mike Forrester, who's behind one of the Thank the Maker podcast, he has another project called the Ornament Project that in years past had was like another art related project that the makers get behind. And so where the artists take a little piece of plastic and they turn it into a Christmas ornament. It's always Star Wars related, and those get auctioned off. And this past year we decided, well, we're not going to compete because it's the same audiences behind the two podcasts. We're all friends and family. We're going to combine these efforts and alternate back and forth, one year, one the next. And so this past year we did the Ornament Project. This next year we'll go back to Chrome Tono and so on. And so we did Ornament Project, and we raised over $30,000 for the Starlight Children's Foundation. So coming down off of that, all of a sudden here in January, the fire happens, and some of our very dear friends that are people that are behind the scenes, help us with these shows and everything, are in danger of losing their homes, and we're texting them every morning and every night, like, are you okay? What's the latest? And very much all involved and wrapped around trying to keep track of what's going on with all the fires. And it's amazing how quickly you learn so much about the machinations of what's going on with the fires and the World Central Kitchen and the animal shelters and all of the different things and aspects of what goes on around a disaster like this, and how quickly you can get invested in it. So we decided that we were going to take and try and come up with something that was similar to these projects that we do, that was intended to raise money for the charities. And we realized that for something like a fire, it's not just one aspect. Like I said, there's like the California Fire Foundation, World Central Kitchen, and the Pasadena Humane Society are the three charities that are behind this particular project. And the way that we're going to do it is the auction will go into an escrow account, and then we'll do 3 equal distributions into those 3 charities. So, and I'm already working with the company that handles the auction stuff for us to make sure that all that is handled appropriately. So we get helmets, the Darth Vader helmet behind me, and we get them into artists' hands, and we say, look, we're going to ask you to do either a Los Angeles, Hollywood, California culture inspired paint job, right? And let me tell you, I've seen some helmets that are like that capture LA perfectly. And do that. Or if you want to go with the fire route, like what I've done here with Vader, do like a fire first responder inspired paint. And then we're going to auction those off. And that's one aspect of it. We're also collecting items that we're gonna that we know will help raise money, and we're gonna auction those off, and that will go towards it. And then we've got friends based off of Adam from Thank the Maker that are in the music business that are donating musical items, guitars, basses, things like that, that are going to go into the raffle as well. And there's some pretty incredible items that are coming in to that are all going to go towards the raffle. And so we've got like this intersection of like music and Star Wars and art and like just Los Angeles culture colliding for this project, and all of it is going to go into this, this artistic project. It's just really interesting. And the artwork that you see getting created, I see stuff every day that's blowing my mind. Because everybody sends me pictures. Every morning I get up and I look at my phone and I get to see.
I want to see. Are you posting any of it yet?
We're posting all kinds of stuff slowly as the artists are willing to share. I'm happy to behind the scenes show you some of the cooler stuff that I get to see. But it will all come out eventually. But it's just incredible. And the amount of thoughtfulness that goes into some of these pieces, because fire is a devastatingly destructive thing, and it's terrible what it's done to some people's lives. So how do you approach something that's that terrible with the appropriate amount of reverence for what it has done, without, you don't want to glorify it, but it's also like, you need to create a piece of art about this story, right? Like, so it's the amount of thought and care that people are putting into it is also really, really impressive.
It's been a beautiful thing. And I mean, I've been astounded, especially because I was on the opposite coast, and since we were evacuated, I wound up staying in Florida longer, and I did a convention down in Central Florida that first weekend after the fires. And the outpouring of interest and sympathy and concern and wanting to help it didn't take me by surprise, because at this point I have seen how caring the fandom is and how hungry people are to be able to do something to help people in need in various capacities. I mean, I mentioned to you guys earlier that I do a raffle at most of my conventions for Voices Against Cancer, which is funds pediatric cancer research. And just by virtue of doing that, so many people want to talk about their own cancer stories. We get to share about something. We're already united in the fandom and all the things we love about Star Wars. And then it's another point of contact, and it's another way that we get to share in each other's struggles, which is so important, because it's so disorienting to go through a lot of things in life. And the more you can remember that there are other people that are pushing for you and cheering for you and who want to help out, even if they are, somewhere else in the world, or somewhere, even if you've never met them. I think that that's so important. And what you're doing, I think, will inspire people in so many different ways. And it'll just be this beautiful ripple effect, because it's not just the money you're raising. It's also just the care, like you said, that people are putting into what they're creating. That really, it means something.
For sure. Emily, how did you hear about the project, or who did you contact initially to get involved with the project?
I just saw some posts on Instagram.
Oh,
I mean,
so
Instagram was
alive.
Lord knows I can't figure out how my feed is curated sometimes, but I get a lot of Star Wars stuff, and I was getting a lot of fire stuff.
Sure.
And this one popped up, and so I first I went to the website, I guess, and I filled out an official form or whatever. And then I was like, well, maybe I should just message him. So I messaged on the website, and
That's so great.
I know I have a Jacksonville connection to, I think, Ryan from Thank the Makers. So I'd done their podcast in the past. So I was like, oh, these are people I already know.
That's great.
So it, as far as I could tell, it seemed reputable.
We're okay, I guess.
Yeah.
We're on the
you
up
don't
and
have
up.
to be reputable in every sense, but
For the
you gotta
charitable
know.
portion of it, I suppose it should be reputable.
We
So cool.
we might have heard something that this is a raffle and we have some items, and we heard you might have some things you might be considering donating, something along
You
those
mean besides
lines?
helmets?
Or like you have something personally you wanted to donate?
I
We
thought you were
wanted to
gonna
let
say,
the
or like
fans know?
you, not donating myself. I mean, I've
No.
No.
I mean, you
I've
can't donate this because I have it right now. So
well, I have
unfortunately.
one too. I mean, I've
There's
got like
two?
Of course she
cool
does. Yeah.
Beskar pieces.
Oh.
I've gotten. I think because I do these raffles at the conventions, people are wonderful artists and makers want to give me things to raffle off, and I have a little bit of a stockpile at this point, and
You have an armory.
I know that they would love knowing that things are getting used for a purpose like this. So yeah,
That's so cool.
I still have to go down and look and see like some of the stuff that I have, but there should be some goodies for everyone. And depending on what else I see you guys have, what other people have given, I'll probably be inspired and be like, oh yeah, and I've got this other thing.
Go downstairs, dig in the box, and pull something out.
Totally, yeah.
Right
That's
on.
awesome.
Emily, I had a question.
Okay.
So Los Angeles is the heart of the television and the film industry. And even before this happened, we'd been hearing about production being moved out of state and overseas. What kind of impact do you think this is going to have on the already struggling industry?
I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball. I hope, I really hope, because I've seen so much positive energy being directed towards exactly what you said, like people acknowledging that it's been a tough time. And there's a lot of productions that have moved out of town, and this is really challenging for people who are based here with their families and who can't necessarily like travel all over the place to work. And we're not just talking about actors, we're talking about like all of the crews that support us.
Yeah.
And I've
Crafty.
seen some really great efforts towards bringing that to people's attention and saying, let's make an even more concerted effort to bring more production back here. Hopefully, I mean, I know that there was something just before, was it just before the New Year's that there's some tax incentives that are being freed up. So hopefully more of that will be happening. And hopefully, I mean, I wish that it didn't take catastrophe and tragedy to bring out the best in people, but I do think people will maybe be more inclined to say, okay, even if it's cheaper for us to do this production elsewhere, I'm not gonna name any cities.
Don't name
'Cause we
names,
don't
right?
want to
Yeah.
badmouth any other cities.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll acknowledge like that emotionally and just energetically. It's good to bring some stuff back here just for morale and to I feel like the more people try to save money by doing stuff out of town, the more other people see it and they're like, "Oh, that must be what we have to do." And so, the
We
opposite
don't
of
want.
that
Yeah.
hopefully is
Yeah.
true too. The more people come back, the more peer pressure will bring
Exactly.
them back.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Right on.
Cool. Thanks. Just while we're still talking about the project, right? Like, just a huge shout out to all the folks that are donating, helmets and items in general. I mean, we've had a huge outpouring. We've been contacted by, I'm not sure just how much we're all collectively ready to kind of disclose yet. But I mean, I've been contacted by not just artists that are like painting helmet, but like artists that are like Lucasfilm approved artists that sell
Oh.
prints at like Celebration and stuff like that. I've been contacted by Rancho Obi-Wan, who's going to be involved in the project now as well. Been contacted by so many makers that cast helmets and make helmets. Huge shout out to them because they're donating their blood, sweat, and tears to donate helmets to the cause that are going to get turned into stuff like this, and then the artists themselves that are going to be doing the painting, which is fantastic. So huge shout out to all of the folks that are involved in the project. Really, really appreciate it. The raffle itself, we haven't set an exact auction date yet, but we're looking at the very beginning of March. It could be as early as March 1st. So keep an eye out, follow the socials for that. It's all the information can be found at lastrikesback.org. That'll take you to the link tree, and that's where all the information can be found. There's a Discord there if you want to talk to the other artists and makers. But then we've also got the links to the socials and everything else, the form that you can fill out if you want to be one of the artists or makers. So that's where it's all at. So
Cool.
thank you so much,
to
Emily.
all of
We
you
really
for
appreciate it.
organizing this, because that's a monstrous task in and of itself.
This is right up our alley. I mean, between
We're getting good at it.
Our bread
Like-
and butter. Yeah.
like I think these past few years, like Raimi had mentioned earlier, the Chrome Tono thing.
Yeah.
The first year, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, was the National Down Syndrome Society,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? And then one of our most dedicated listeners, Indie Speeder, she's a young girl with Down. She was kind of like she ended up being like kind of our mascot for the whole program. And then NDSS was so happy with the amount of money that we raised and the visibility that we gave that they even brought her to New York
Mhm.
to see her photo put up in Times Square, and it
Oh
was
my
just
God.
like yeah. And then
That was awesome.
and then guys, what was the following years? It was Joe's
Oh, the veterans.
yeah
The veterans thing. Yeah.
I
can't
and
remember.
then it was like for
Mission
veterans.
22?
Mission
Mission
22,
22,
thank you.
yep.
For veterans who, they're out of they're coming out of the military and they need to know how to get a job and they need to know
Yeah.
how to like
Yeah. Integrating
reintegrate
back
in
in.
society. And it was like the visibility on that too. So yeah, we're very happy that you can help us bring visibility to this project.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I want to stay involved in whatever way I can help.
Yeah, we
Right on.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.